world where achievements and accolades motivate us to do more and be more, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there is more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old, push your way through, and claim the deeper life that's calling you.
That's where we excel.
We're your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslak.
And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Sit back and relax as we share the shortcuts we've uncovered to help you make shift happen. Welcome back to the Soulful Leader Podcast. This is Maren and I'm here with Stephanie. And we were talking today about timing. And there's a saying that comes to mind whenever I think of timing, and it's that everything in nature happens as it's needed, whenever, without any rushing, or it's like everything happens and it doesn't rush, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't go out of its way. It just, and everything happens in right time. And for me, I've been really thinking about that because with spring here, and I'm feeling the energy of blooming things and exciting, like, oh, I have so much energy and I want to get everything done. And I thought, oh, why didn't I feel like this 3 months ago? Like all this stuff that I want to get done now, I could have gotten a head start on it. I coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I realized that it wasn't right time. It wasn't right time.
It's so frustrating at times, though, in our inner world, right? Because, we have goals and dreams and ideals, and we just want to get them out there. We want to get them planted.
Right.
And it's so interesting because I was talking to you just last week going, hey, because anyone who's listening, Maren really changed my whole life around seeds and gardening organically many, many years ago. This is actually how we met. And so I am really totally, literally a beginner when it comes to gardening. I know nothing. And so I get all excited and I go, okay, I'm going to plant all kinds of things this year. And I get stress shopping and I buy way too many things and half the stuff doesn't even grow in my zone. So I was asking Maren for advice, and she was saying, well, actually you could plant those, whatever, those plants like last week, you're good to go. Well, what about these plants? No, you got to wait for into May. And I'm like, I have no idea. And yet I just want to plant everything all at once. And how often are we like that in our lives? Like, I just want to have everything done and everything over. And we push ourselves and we try to push nature to make it, we're trying to blossom something inside and then, or in a season that it's not meant to blossom.
What's interesting is that it doesn't. So one of the things that you can do is like peas. You can plant peas as soon as the ground is workable in the spring. And I most often do that. And this year and last year, I actually didn't get to it. So I'm going to use last year as my example. Last year, I didn't get to it. So I bought somebody else's peas that they had started. So I got little pea plants. And I planted their plants and I planted a late row of peas, because the other thing you can do with peas is succession planting. You can do that with many of your crops, so that you'll, like these peas will grow and give you peas, and 2 weeks later you'll get peas from the other one. Well, what ended up happening was the ones that I bought from the store and transplanted and the ones that I planted late both bloomed and gave me peas at exactly the same time. So the head start, like when we think that we'll beat nature in this instance, or like I should be doing something in January for myself. We're talking about my inner self now, right? Like, well, I should be doing that. I don't feel like doing that. And I really am not getting any indication from the world, from life, that I should be doing it. But my itty bitty shitty committee is telling me, yes, you should, Maren, you should be doing something, right?
So that you could be ahead of everybody and get out there and get started. And I'm like, what is the rush?
And it doesn't give
yeah.
It's like I didn't get the I didn't get the extra bonus early peas anyway. I got my late peas, which was fine. I loved my peas, and both sets were great. So I'm glad that I bought them. I just found that it was a very interesting experiment, and that it really does. It works in my life too. It was like it's a metaphor, right? It's a metaphor for our lives.
Well, I think of the feeling of procrastination. I think we're really hard on ourselves when we say I'm procrastinating about something. And
Mm,
perhaps it just isn't the right time. And we're labeling it as procrastination instead of saying, is it maybe it's not the right time, or maybe I haven't quite been ready internally yet to really own something. So let's think of an example. You know, I see this a lot with my clients, and they'll say, "Oh, that's Stephanie, that's a great program. I really want to do that." And I'm like, "Well, how about now?" No. And they'll give me a whole list of excuses. And I will say excuses, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, my kids need this, my partner needs that, or they have all kinds of things. And that's okay. But I always say, just tell the truth.
right.
And it's easier to say, "Hey, that's a great idea, but right now I have other values that need
Priorities.
priorities that need to be looked after first." Instead, I think it's really easy to say, "I don't have money, I don't have time, or I don't have energy." And that might be true. That may be true. But I find a more beautiful, loving way to yourself to say, "Wait a minute, this is an opportunity for me to look within and say, what is most important right now?"
Mm.
Because,
There's so many levels to that because it not only in telling the truth, in looking inside of us for that truth. A
Mhm.
couple of things is, first of all, when I use the excuses, I claim those in my life. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough. So now I'm telling the universe, oh, I don't have enough.
So the
In,
universe slows down.
right. Oh, that's what we're going to,
Mhm.
so, okay, she doesn't have enough for all of this. And the interesting thing is that if it were right time and I like knew that it was for me, I would find the time, the energy, the money, the whatever.
Mhm.
And I know that about myself. So it's interesting so today Stephanie asked me about joining her in doing, a program that she found. And I just said, I don't think that's right for me. And yet, 3 months ago, she asked me to join her doing a program that she found, and it was like, "Yep, sign me up." And
Yeah,
so
so what was the difference? How did you
yeah,
know? How did you know, Marin, what to say yes and what to say no to? What was the timing inside yourself? Like, how did you know that?
there is one of the things that you and I have been working on both together and separately for many years is this knowing inside of ourselves. And some people call it intuition. Our coach tends to separate intuition as something that, like, if I've worked at something for many years, it becomes subconscious to me. And my subconscious is faster than my conscious mind. So it steps in and gives me the answer. And that's one definition of intuition. And that's the way that we tend to talk about it. Beyond intuition is this inner knowing, and one of the studies that they've done with that type of intuition, or, is that they took people outside of their realm of knowledge. Say for me, dance is my realm of knowledge. So if they took me outside of my realm of knowledge into, say, for example, investing, and they asked me to use my intuition, that level that I was just talking about, where it's knowledge based and it's subconscious, it's no better than flipping a coin. It was guessing.
Mhm.
The people were inside their area of expertise, dead on,
Mhm.
90%, like 90 to 99%, like always accurate.
Mhm.
Outside of their area of expertise, it was 50-50. So it's essentially a guess. So there is a deeper level of knowing that outside of area expertise doesn't matter. It's your ground of being. It's connecting into life itself and knowing what's right for you. And it takes practice there are a couple of things we've talked about these in the past. It takes emptying out the junk from the junk drawer so that you have space to actually hear,
Yeah.
and then practicing that conversation. So that's a long answer to your short question of I've gotten to the point where I now know, and when I feel that, I it's interesting because I look for the excuses. So today when you and I were talking, you asked me if I wanted to do that. It was like, huh, it doesn't feel right. There isn't that knowing like, yes, I need to
Hmm.
do this. And so can I articulate a reason why that's not an excuse?
I think also what is transforming is because you've been practicing being present to that question.
Mm.
And so you are sitting with it and getting familiar with what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it looks like, and so you're starting to present the signs and the wonders.
Mm.
Not just one. I'm saying it's plural here. It's like signs and wonders. So it's not a reaction. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, like yes or no, out of fear or out of passion. It's an absolute um visceral experience internally that
Yeah.
that transcends our rational mind is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because I almost think of it like I'm tracking life.
Hmm.
Right? And when you think about like a tracker in the woods who's tracking a deer or tracking, some sort of wildlife, they are looking for not just one sign, like, oh, look, a deer was here. I could do that. I don't need a tracker for that, right?
Right.
The tracker is looking for multiple signs over time
Hmm. Hmm.
and developing that presence to what wants to happen, what did happen here, where is that animal going based on what I see where that animal has been, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I've been practicing in my life.
And how this is relating to our lives as leaders right now is that we're tracking
Mm.
ourselves from the future. So we're actually presencing of like, I I'm intentionally wanting to evolve into a better human being. That's not saying that I'm not good enough now. I'm saying my evolution is I want to continue to grow through love and beauty and joy. And so I want to track that Stephanie from the future. And so I need to have a practice in order to be present to the daily signs and wonders every day. I can't just, oh, look, it's magical thinking, because that's often what we that's what we do. And it's so interesting because our past can be so rigid. And I have such a great example. I was leading a little workshop last week, and a woman drew one of those little cards. You know how you pull the little heart cards or whatever, and it had a saying, my abundance is constantly increasing, or my income is constantly increasing. I am always abundant, or something to that way. And she instantaneously said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That can't happen because I'm on a fixed
Mm.
salary or fixed income, and there's no way it's going to happen." So it's funny because just yesterday I was with the same participant, and she goes, "You're not going to believe what happened." She said, "I have to tell you," because when she said, "Oh, that's impossible. I'm on a fixed income. That won't happen." I said, "What if you hold the possibility
Mhm.
that that card you just pulled is coming from your future, not from your conditioned past, which you think you already have a rigidity in knowing?" And I said, "What if you just were open to the possibility? Like, what the heck, right? Don't be looking for it anxiously, which is often what we do, but just be open and playful." So she met with me yesterday. She's like, "You're not gonna believe what happened." She said, "I got home after pulling that card, and she said, I got an email." And you know how you get those emails from the bank saying you've got X amount of dollars, you have to contact this thing. Well, she thought it was completely spam and it was crazy. Anyway, so she called her bank and they're like, "Yes, we made a terrible, terrible mistake and we owe you $2,000.
Oh my God.
That's right. And she's like, "Unbelievable." And I said, "I wonder how many times in our lives
Mm.
we have gone from our past self of experience, which what we're talking of is intuition and patterns, right? Living from our past that has
Right.
literally concretized thinking that this is the way it is and it's the
Right.
only way it's going to be and that's the way it's
This
going
is
to
who I
continue on.
am. This is what my life looks like, and it's not going to change.
That's right. That's right. And again, when we come back to timing and we come back to that whole of planting seeds, it's like you plant a seed because you don't plant an apple seed expecting an orange tree. Like you get what you plant. So it's like if you can hold open to possibilities, you can be very surprised and delighted about what might happen.
Mm.
And this is also bringing up another conversation that you and I were talking about, Marin, around the old paradigm of the fear of missing out, the emotional addictions that we
Mm.
get around timing, around trying to make something happen, like
Yeah.
the high rational achiever manifestation thing. Like, I want to manifest a relationship, I want to manifest health, I want to manifest money. And so we set out with a plan of action. And then we're really upset because it's not turning out, but it may not be the right time,
Mm.
which people go crazy about because they're like, well,
But it
I'm gonna
happened
make
for
it, but it
Susie,
happened. Right.
right? Susie had it and she did it, so it must be time for me. No, not necessarily.
And one of our teachers talks about like when you're downloading, say you're streaming a video from the internet, like sometimes when you go to download it, you don't get the beginning first of that movie. You get the middle, and maybe the end comes in next, and then the first part, and then the fourth part, and like it all comes in chunks in different timing. It doesn't it doesn't land synchronistically. Like I mean, it doesn't land, what do you call that? Chronologically is what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say.
So what Stephanie's talking about is like the buffer, when we're watching a video like on YouTube or something like that, you see where the play is, and then just ahead of that, there's this little gray area that's called the buffer. And when the bits of information are coming into that buffer, they're actually coming in asynchronously, meaning that exactly what Stephanie said is they're not coming in order. And that's why it takes a while to buffer. Like when your play actually catches up to that buffer, and then you get that little spinning wheel of like, wait for this. What it's waiting for is the next chunk. It might have 4 chunks later, but it doesn't have the next chunk. So it's reorganizing itself in that buffer.
And that's what we're doing consciously. I can get very frustrated of saying, hey, I have an intention that I've held for like 30 years and it's never manifested. So the high rational achiever part of myself that says, I must be doing something wrong.
Mm.
I'm not in the right place. I'm not at the right time. I've got to work harder. I got to work faster.
I must have done something
I
wrong.
exactly, and it torments me and it's very, very uncompassionate, like totally mean.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah. And like, so think of the buffer. It's like, how do I know that there aren't chunks of what it is I want in the manifestation realm that's coming in at different timing?
Mm.
And can I trust the process? Oh, that's so hard because we are so conditioned of that fear of missing out. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to like never reach my potential. I'm not going to know who I am or why I'm here, or I don't have the money or the relationship or the health. Or da, 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 da. We get off on these tracks and it's so miserable.
I'm going to go back to the apple tree that you were talking about earlier and, planting an apple tree and not expecting an orange tree. The other piece of that is planting an apple tree and then standing over it going like, is it growing yet? Is it growing yet? Is it growing yet? Can I pick my apples? Can I pick my apples? Right? It's like we wouldn't do that. And yet we do that to ourselves.
Hmm.
We're told that we're supposed to set a goal and then do these chunk it down into, this is what's going to happen this year. And from that, this is what's going to happen the next, in each of the quarters. And then this is what's going to happen this week. And then measure our success. And it's like, wait a minute, whose timeline is that?
Right.
And what, like,
Mm.
if I am planting, say, for example, bamboo, right? You plant bamboo and you see nothing for 7 years.
Yeah.
Nothing. You plant a fern and you're like, "Poof, there it is." Right? So we don't we make so many assumptions
Hmm.
that like I may be the bamboo and you're the fern, and I'm going to compare myself to you because, well, my bamboo does not look like your fern,
And
and it's not
again,
up yet.
we're looking above ground. We're looking outwardly for
Right.
results. We have no idea what's going on under the surface, how much change has been happening. And I mean, I can give a good example of that. There's that internal, like sometimes, and this just happened to me recently of like going through a really hard time emotionally.
Mm.
And I'm looking outward going, oh my God, I'm a hot mess. I'm a hot mess. And then people coming in to see me and like, wow, like you are so different, Stephanie.
Mm.
You've really changed. You're quieter. You've slowed down. Your heart's more open. And I'm like, I feel like a bag of crap. Like I feel like I'm like everywhere and all at once, like that movie. And it's like what people see and what you feel can be completely incongruent.
Right.
And yet it's like we're so conditioned to look at the outer that if I don't have results now, I must be doing something wrong. Because I did this, I should cause and effect, right? I did something and it didn't get the effect that I wanted.
Linear.
Very linear. And it's again, I keep coming back. We To be kinder with ourselves is not something that we are taught or modeled how to do.
And as leaders, when
Mm,
we can do this with ourselves, we can then do it with our teams and with our business plans and with our, right? We can allow things to meander. I'm going to read a quote that there's this wonderful book that I just won actually. Speaking of magic happening, I won this book, and there was a definite reason for it. One of the truths is that life will always give us what we need before we need it.
mm,
And I was doing a presentation at a local WESOS meeting. WESOS is Women's Entrepreneurs Secrets of Success. And as I was preparing for it, I went to a different WESOS meeting, and this was a giveaway there. And I walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, I need that book. Speaking of knowing you need something. And I thought I need to order that from the internet because I need that book. Well, here's one of those things my concretized, like, I never win anything. And I
mhm.
actually won. I not only won once, but I won twice. And the leader there said, you don't get two different prizes, but you should go play the lottery today. So anyway, the book was, as I was reading it, I went, oh my gosh, I need this paragraph. And so I used it in my talk. And as we're talking, it just came up again. So so this is from The Magic of Tiny Business by Sharon Rowe. And it says entrepreneurship doesn't need to be a competitive race to the peak, as popular myths and media want you to believe. It can be a pleasurable, educational, meandering hike from point A to point B, step by step to the summit, where you arrive in healthier financial and personal shape than when you began.
Mm.
It's such a different paradigm. And what if our businesses all had that as a floor instead of, as you like to say, Stephanie, head down, butt up, go, go, go.
Yeah. I mean, even I'm thinking of parents that have children who are or young adults who they have ideals for them. It's like, come on, it's time to get a job. It's time to go out and go to university or get married or have kids or grandkids or whatever. And it's like we project on what we want for someone else because we're uncomfortable with our own inner timing.
Hmm.
And that projection out onto someone else also affects them if that person doesn't have an inner practice to be present to what they believe is true for them. So let me see what I mean by that. So when someone someone feels controlled and manipulated and irritated and different things, you have to ask yourself why. Why am I feeling that way?
Mm.
Is it really the person that's making me feel this way? Or is it my thoughts and beliefs about that? So I just had a really interesting experience. I have a new addition that's on my house that needs to get painted. Now, my family owned a paint store. Like we were like 3, 4 generations of builders. So we've got lots of paint. You think I could, it's like, the shoemaker's kids go with their shoes. Yeah, well, that's kind of my family. So I've got this, this part, and I had a contractor come by um, just recently and said, "Hey, what's going on with that? Like, why haven't you painted that or whatever?" And I'm like, I'll get around to it or whatever." And here's what's interesting: you get what you need before you need it. Just the week prior, I had a wonderful client who said, "Hey, look, I've got a 4-day weekend. I paint a little bit on the side. Any chance I could use a little extra cash? Any chance that you want this addition painted? I'd be happy to do it for you." Well, that was easy. Like, sure. So here's what's interesting. I already said yes to this person, my client that offered his services to me. And it was the right time and the right thing and whatever. So when this contractor came, he was kind of this contractor of an old paradigm, like the fear of missing out. Like, well, if you don't get it painted, it's going to be rotten and it's going to be this and it's going to be that. And, how much longer are you going to wait for it? And I'm like, well, isn't that interesting? I already have somebody who's going to do that for me. I just said yes. Oh,
And that person didn't do it from a, hey, you're going to miss out. They did it
exactly.
from a place of genuine, hey, and honesty. We were talking about honesty before.
And I could feel that pressure of the fear of missing out. Now, like I said, thank goodness I'd already said yes to the other person, but I still felt the emotional intoxication within myself of fear and doubt.
Mm.
Like, oh my God, are my cedar shakes rotten? Are they this? Are they that? Or this? Oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to make choices anymore from the fear of missing out or from that emotional intoxication. I want to make it because it's the right time. And that it's that now I'm not saying, because some of you might say, well, if it's easy, then it's meant to be, or if it's meant to be, it'll just happen naturally. That's not true either.
Mm.
Here's the buffer again. Like, they my by the way, my back addition that came on is because a tree fell on it in the fall from the hurricane. It was actually in my 10-year plan. I had in 10 years I was going to put the new addition on. But when the tree fell down, I'm like, I guess the time is now. It's like there's the dance between setting a goal and also surrendering how that's going to unfold and staying present to it, to what wants to happen in its right time.
I think of that as my conversation with life. And I'll set my intention, I'll set my goal, and then listen because spirit will usually have a weigh in on that. So it'll be, hey, here's what I want. And spirit will say, well, how about this? Kind of like you, like, I want this in 10 years. And spirit says, well, how about no?
Now it might be a good time. The tree's like hanging out on it and just crushed half of it. So it might be a good time.
Right. Or, knowing that you're like life spirit knew that you needed that your back, the new edition painted and offered you an two different options on a silver platter. Here you go. One is an emotional entanglement and one isn't.
And I think that we're even alluding to something even deeper when we're talking about goal setting and intentions and achieving something. There is the conscious goal setting.
Hmm.
Hey, I want a new back porch. I want to lose 20 pounds and I want to run a marathon, or all these different things that we say are goals, right? So we have this conscious, which is only 5%, by the way. 95% of us is unconscious. And then there's a deep self that says something else. That's the spirit part that says, what about this? Or how about now? Or what about that? Have you thought about this? And so why I'm bringing that up is that when timing isn't happening for you, whatever that means to you in your way of manifesting something, hold, just like I said to that client, hold possibility that something great is going to happen instead.
Right.
That may be the buffer, that there is a deeper knowing or a deeper intention that is meant to come in that you're not even aware of because it's in the unconscious. But know that your soul has a predestined plan. So don't fight it. If we could practice surrendering, if we can practice allowing what is, then we can stay, I call it holding tension of we can stay in conflict
Hmm.
without without annihilating ourselves or another. We can say, okay, fascinating creation. There's a little tension here. There must be something really great meant to birth. And this is where we're missing it as leaders, as lovers, as learners, all these different things is that when we get uncomfortable, we think there's something wrong. It's,
Right.
instead of, I say it's like meeting the uncomfortability, not pushing through it, not forcing it, not manipulating, but meeting it with love and curiosity.
I think of it like you told your client of like, what if instead of there's something wrong, what
Mhm,
if there's something right? And I just need to hold that possibility. Because, yeah, tension is what, think about this, people. Tension is what creates diamonds.
mhm,
Pressure, right? That's tension. And so by avoiding it, we avoid like allowing that to evolve in ourselves.
mhm.
So being present to it and not either like I have to fix it or I have to run from it.
Yeah,
So we tend to be in this binary, either this or that. And when you can sit in instead of this or that, what if I sit in the middle of those two?
exactly. And instead of fear being your emotional intoxication to make a decision, it's possibility, wonder, curiosity, hope.
Hmm. Well, I love that. This has been a very enriching conversation for me. Thank you, Stephanie. And don't forget that you can find all of our stuff on Facebook and LinkedIn and now on YouTube. And we look forward to talking to you next week on the Soulful Leader podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
And Marin Oslak. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.